Welcome to Cooperative Chats, the weekly chat show for the Cooperative Trust. And this chat show is dedicated to all emerging leaders and rising talent in the credit union space. Happy Wednesday, it's a new month, and we're super excited to be bringing you a new topic. So our goal for these cooperative chats are to bring you real, authentic conversations with emerging leaders, current thought leaders in the credit union space, with the goal of helping you develop your career as a leader in the credit union space. So we're very excited to have a very special topic this week, and that is servant leadership. So before I get into the topic of servant leadership and defining what that is, I'm first going to introduce myself. My name is Courtney Angeli, and I'm the Director of Community Development for Filene Research Institute and the Cooperative Trust. And what that means is I have the amazing honor and privilege of working with rising talent and leaders across the credit union space to help bring you developmental tools that will help cement your place in the credit union industry. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and start how we begin all of our chats, and that's with defining what our theme is for the week, or for the month. So servant leadership is the theme that we went with for August. And the reason why I'm so excited about this particular theme is because we often hear a lot of leaders talk about this style of leadership. We hear a lot of people say that they are servant leaders, but what does that really mean? So we're going to dive into that today with our guest. But before we do that, I'm just going to share a definition of what servant leadership is. And this is provided by the Robert Greenleaf Institute for Servant Leadership. And what they say is this: servant leadership is a philosophy and a set of practices that enriches the lives of individuals, builds better organizations, and ultimately creates a more just and caring world. Servant leaders have a natural desire to serve others first. And a servant leader focuses primarily on the growth and well-being of people and the communities that they belong to, while traditional leadership really focuses on the accumulation and the exercise of power by one person being at the top. So servant leadership is absolutely different than most forms of leadership because the servant leader shares the power across the board, and they really do focus on putting people first. So here to talk to us today, I'm so excited to introduce our guest, is Tony Hernandez from Defense Credit Union Council. So give me just 1 second. We're going to bring Tony on. And welcome. Hi, Tony.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing today?
Oh, we're doing so good. So before we kick it off with our questions, I just want you to share a little bit about yourself with the Cooperative Trust community. So really your quick elevator pitch for what you do at DCUC, and then if you can also share one thing that defines you outside of your profession.
Okay. Well, as you said, I'm the president and CEO of the Defense Credit Union Council. And what we are is a trade association of credit unions that are located on military installations all around the world. And so we've got lots of different members of both large and small credit unions, both community chartered credit unions, and then credit unions that were chartered just to serve, the Department of Defense by themselves. And so, we've got all different kinds, but the one common theme that runs through us is that we serve the military community along with veterans that have since transitioned out of the military. It's a wonderful opportunity to do that. Military, people have a unique lifestyle. We'll get into that probably a little bit later as that relates to servant leadership. A little bit about myself. I spent 25 years in the United States Air Force. I retired as a full colonel prior to taking the job at DCUC. When I was in the Air Force, I did a variety of jobs, performed a variety of roles, mostly in the financial management arena. I was an Air Force budget officer, which is what my core specialty was. But I'm a 3-time commander, both at the squadron level and at the group level. And for those of you that are familiar with Army, it was as a full colonel, I was at the brigade command level, which is pretty big. I mean, at one time I had 1,300 airmen that were under my command, and so that was pretty exciting. But I've worked a variety of roles. One point in my career, I worked for a 4-star, and we had about 146,000 people in that command, and all kinds of airplanes and jets and lots of cool stuff. And so I enjoyed my time. So that's about me, a little bit about DCUC. But I guess the one thing that defines me outside my profession, is really just I always try to be transparent. That's what people sort of know me for, is what you see is what you get. And with that in mind, I do look in the mirror a lot. I do take a lot of self-assessments, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But that helps guide me in terms of what or how I shape or how I offer leadership or practice leadership in different environments.
Wonderful, thank you. And one interesting fact, Tony loves to read, and I'm sure he's going to share a little bit about this. And one of the books that he recommended is actually currently my monitor riser that is allowing my my video to be at eyeline. And it's actually a really, really special book that I'm actually going to share at the end of this too, because it's actually helped throughout my leadership journey as well. So if you could just share really quickly, we're just going to dive into this because we have such a short period of time. I'm really curious your perspective on how defense credit unions are leading in service and why that is so critical for your members.
Yeah, in sort of prepping for that, it's a kind of new, you might be asking that question. And so the one thing I want to invite everybody here is to go to the DCUC website. It's dcuc.org, and on that page you see a video link, and there's a video that's the first one that appears, and it's titled "Why We Do What We Do." We just released that video last winter, and then we all went into this COVID, stay-at-home orders, and so it kind of just sort of sat there on the vine. I wouldn't say it withered; it just sort of just sat there. We re-released that one as our country is coming, economic recovery, as we look to rebuild. We were very deliberate in how we selected images in that, showing a wide range of diversity and inclusion. Everything from gender diversity, racial diversity, age diversity, community versus military. So check it out. But what I like to do in answering how defense credit unions lead in service. Let me read you the script that's on there, and trust me, the guy that did the voiceover talent, that's why he gets paid. So don't judge me. But I'll go ahead and give it my best shot. But here goes the script. Military life is like no other. It's fight and flight. It's putting down roots that reach far and wide into something bigger than a place. We were started almost 60 years ago by people just like you. So we understand the challenges and the dreams, because military life is still real life. And deep down, we're all people. We get married, we buy houses, we have kids and grandkids, and eventually we retire. Our members fight hard for a better life, a better country, a better tomorrow. So we're here to fight for them, to help them grow, realize their dreams, and grab their slice of the American pie. Because in the end, it's not about money. It's about life, family, and community. Something we're all a part of. And that's why we do what we do. And that's the defense credit union difference. And I really like that script because I think it captures why we do what we do. And if you're listening closely, and again, I invite you to go see the video for yourself because it has great images and there's some cool music and a better voiceover talent, believe me. But the message just sort of kind of weaves in, what we're doing. And I think, everybody listening on this conversation, I believe you can say the same thing about your credit unions as well. And so I thought that was pretty pertinent.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I got some chills on my arms as you were reading that, so that was really lovely. And just really kind of going down that line, you share that, military folks are just like us. They're people too. They need the same products and services. Well, more unique products and services, tailored to their needs, but they still need those financial services and those products. So in that light, what parts of the service or member service is the most critical for your members?
I think the most critical thing, or the thing that we offer our members, is that, a lot of them are away from home for the very first time. When you enlist in the military, one, we take it a basic training, which shakes you up, and stirs you around, and it's pretty intense. But then we send you out to your first base, and that could be all the way across the country, It could be in a foreign land. You could also get deployed into a war zone, and so you still have to pay bills, whether you like it or not. Finances will happen whether you're deployed or not, or you're away from home or not. And so, we just find that the service we provide, to members is that they are out there on their own. And so what can we do to get them started down the right path? And then one of the things you'll notice with virtually every military installation, some of them are getting cleaned up, but you see all the bad actors right outside the gates. You see pawn shops, title loan companies, used car dealerships, and in some cases where it's allowed, you see some gambling establishments. And so what we need is, because, young military, very stressful conditions. And then there's a impulse of, I'd say some are necessary, aren't required for, quality of life. They're just sort of nice to have. And they get inundated with, purchase requests all the time. And so that's just something that we fight and try to guard against. And that's the defense credit union difference.
Awesome. Yeah, and that must be super challenging, thinking about the time that you're spending away from your family, knowing that, you're getting your paycheck, but you're not necessarily using it right away, and you have free time. What's the responsible thing to do, but then also, what's something that you can do as a human being to really, bring that humanity back into your life, but might also get you into a little bit of trouble. So I think that's a really, really interesting perspective to share. And in that light, what are some of the challenges that, credit unions face, especially defense credit unions, and perhaps their members might face as well?
Yeah, well, I think, just like, credit unions, like all credit unions, I think you see a lot of concerns with emerging technology. Plus, we're seeing a lot of consolidation and acquisition in the credit union industry. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see that trend continue, no matter if you're bringing on qualified credit more.
Yes, you can. But so just a moment. All right. I'm so sorry for the delay. And Tony, if you can hear me, we're just going to, like I said, we're going to switch gears. And I'm just so curious if you could share a little bit about what your time in the military has taught you about servant leadership. Okay, well, it looks like we may have had some situations happening with our connection. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to close our episode out right now just to make sure that you all have the time back in your day that you need. However, we had some really, really exciting stories to share for you. So we're going to see if we can pick this back up and share this as a part 2, so that way you don't miss out on anything that Tony has to share, because it's absolutely valuable for our learning processes. So what I'm going to go ahead and say is this. We will definitely be having another episode of Cooperative Chats on August 26th with Brent Dixon, who is the current leader of I3, which is one of Filene's communities that focuses on solving some of the biggest problems faced by credit unions. But until then, actually in between that time, what we're going to do is we're going to do our best to see if we can bring Tony back on, so that way he can finish sharing his story with all of you about his time in the military and how that's really shaped his leadership style. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today and for your patience with some of the technical glitches. We do appreciate it. We hope that you all have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we thank you again so much for tuning in to Cooperative Chats. Have